Hey, what's up guys? I'm Anthony Tackett and welcome back to my shop. In today's video, we're taking a look at the TackLife TLSS01A 16-inch scroll saw. So in my last video, we took a look at a really heavy-duty mobile workstation or tool stand by TackLife. And I think that this scroll saw is going to be a perfect companion for that. So let's open it up and we'll go over the features and try it out. So the first thing you'll notice when unboxing this product is how heavy duty the cardboard is, and everything seems to be packed really well in foam. And right here on the top of the box, this foam has some cavities in it. And I've already pulled out the user manual. This is an accessory kit for the rotary tool attachment. It looks like we have a jig for setting up your blade. This is the flexible nozzle for the air pump that's on board. So that helps blow away sawdust and chips as you're cutting. We have 3 of the 4 included blades, and I think the 4th blade might actually be on the saw, so we'll take a look at that. It looks like you also have some tools, some Allen keys, anything you might need to install the blade. This tool does accept both pinned and pinless blades, so we'll go over that here in a minute. And the last thing we have here in the top bit of styrofoam is the blade guard. And now we have our tool, nestled again pretty well in some styrofoam. It looks like we have our flexible rotary attachment. And here's our saw. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift this out, clear off the table, lay everything out, and we'll see what we need to do to get this guy up and running. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward. It looks like the tool is mostly ready to go. It does have a 10 by 16 inch super heavy table on it that adjusts from 45 degrees back to 90 degrees. When you're cutting at 90 degrees, it's supposed to have a 2.2 inch depth of cut. And when you have the table set at 45 degrees, the depth of cut is around 1 inch. Okay, so I have the tool moved around now, and it's actually on top of that TackLife stand. The stand actually came with some hardware to bolt tools down. I didn't have any wing nuts. I like to use wing nuts when I'm doing something like this because I have a lot of tools that I might be dropping onto this stand. So I used some 1/4 bolts, and those just run through the tool, through some of the perforations here on the top of the stand. And I've just got wing nuts that I'm using to tighten everything down. So the tool is really secure on the stand now. And it's going to be important for you to fasten a tool like this down when you're using it. This is variable speed, and it goes between 500 and 1700 strokes per minute. So this blade is going to be moving up and down. That's just going to cause a little bit of vibration, so it's good to fasten these things down. And speaking of variable speed, one of the great features about this tool is this foot pedal. So you can put this into manual mode and you would adjust the speed with the knob here on the front, or you can use it and control the speed with the foot pedal. And what this does is acts also as a switch. So when you press down on the pedal, again this is unplugged, when you press down on the pedal, it'll start the machine, and then the harder you press on the pedal, the faster the blade will move. So that's a really convenient hands-free way of operating the scroll saw. One other thing I like to do when I get a tool like this is check to see how square the table is to the blade. And what I use to do that is a small machinist square. Now this I think I picked up locally, but you can order these online pretty easily also. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this on the table and lightly push it up against the very edge of the blade and see if the table needs to be adjusted. There's a set screw on the side that allows me to play with the angle of the table so that I can get it dead on at 90 degrees. And that set screw acts as a stop. So when I have the table at 45 degrees and I want to bring it back to 90, it allows me to do that really quickly without having to recheck with the square. So let's go ahead and check the blade to see how square that is out of the box. And then I'm also going to, while I'm here, just go over some of the features on the front panel. So what I'm looking for here are gaps of light between the square and the blade. And I want to make sure that I'm referencing off of the actual tabletop and not this little insert here. And as you can see, it's pretty square from the factory, so I don't think I need to adjust anything right now. Just to quickly hit on some of the controls here in the front. You can see you have an angle guide here, so you can precisely dial in the angle of the blade. This knob is your table angle adjustment, so you would loosen that, and then you can tilt the blade from 90 degrees to 45 degrees. And then you can use this angle gauge if you want really precise, like if you have to cut it 22.5 or something like that. We have a dust port here in the front, so you can hook up a shop vac or a dust collection to make sure that you are operating nice and clean. Of course, we have our on-off switch here. This is a variable speed controller, so all the way down is the slowest that this machine will go, which is around 500 strokes per minute. And then if you turn this all the way up, you're going to be around 1700 strokes per minute. This little switch right above the speed controller, the M stands for manual. So if you flip the switch this way, then you would adjust the speed with the knob. It's a 3-position switch, so the middle position is stop, so the machine won't run. But if you switch it to F, then you control the speed of the machine with the foot switch, which I showed you earlier. So that's really convenient. Everything you need to operate the machine is right here in the front. Super easy to access and well designed. Okay, some of the features here on top of the machine. I'm going to pull this down. This is an adjustable LED work light, and there's just a simple push button here on the top to turn that on and off. And it's on kind of a gooseneck, so you can really position this and get it where you want it. That'll help you see lines if you're trying to follow a line when you're making a cut, or in low light situations. It's a nice thing to have, and you can just move it out of the way when you don't need it. This port on top is for the air pump, and that's where you would connect this attachment. And what that does, it adjusts as well. It allows you to position this near the blade so that it blows sawdust and chips away from your cut so that you can see your line well. This is where your blade guard attaches. So we'll loosen this. We'll actually have to pull the blade out before we can install this. But this blade guard, which you saw when I was unboxing, feeds down and through here. There's a post that goes through here, and then we'll be able to position that plastic guard right in front of the blade so we don't accidentally run our finger into it when we're using the machine. So here in the back, we have a little lever that we can lift up. And what this does is it releases tension from the blade in the front so that you can change that out. You can also adjust the tension by twisting this one way or another. If you twist it clockwise, of course it's going to add tension. Counterclockwise will release tension. And when you're finished installing the blade, flip that down so that you can start cutting. So over here on the right side of the machine, this is where you would screw in your rotary attachment. So there's this plastic cap. So we remove this plastic cap, and the rotary attachment has a post on it that slides back in here. And then we bring this plastic collar in, tighten that down, and now this rotary is controlled by the motor. So it's variable speed as well. So when you adjust the knob on the front or you adjust the foot pedal, you control the speed of this rotary attachment. So that's really handy for grinding and sanding fine parts. And at the very back on the right side of the machine, there's a little hook here for you to conveniently store that rotary attachment when you're not using it, so it's out of the way. All right, let's install some of these safety accessories. So, of course, we're unplugged right now. And what I want to install is this black piece called the depressor. And what the depressor does is that sits right in front of the blade when it's attached and hovers right above your workpiece. The workpiece should be able to move freely, but what that does is it prevents the workpiece from getting kicked up into the blade, which can break the blade and damage the machine. So this is a critical piece on a scroll saw to protect the blade. The piece that flips down over top of that is your blade guard that helps keep your fingers safe. And all of this is connected to this post. And this post slides up and down in this hole, and you have a tension knob here where you can tighten that down. And that just allows you to be able to raise and lower based on the thickness of your workpiece. What I need to do is get a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, take this screw off completely so that I can feed this down through the hole and then put it all together. So that drops in here. I can tighten this down now. And now I can reinstall this depressor. But before I do that, we need to remove the blade because the blade has to run through here. So to remove the blade, what I first need to do is pop out this insert. Again, make sure your machine is unplugged before you do anything like this. And the easiest way I've found is to get underneath the table from, I guess, the left-hand side if you're looking at the machine, and push up, and that will just kind of pop out. This moves out of the way, so we'll set that back here, and we want to release the tension at the back of the saw. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, and now the blade is loose. Since this is a pinned blade, all I really need to do is push down here, and that allows me to walk that blade outward. And it also catches on the bottom, so it's really easy to change the blades out. But what this is going to let me do is going to give me space to be able to drop that depressor in there. So the blade runs up through the depressor, and then I'm going to push down on the support again and slide that pinned blade back into place. And at this point, I can go ahead and reattach the depressor to this post using that number 2 screwdriver. Now that our safety features are installed, we can go ahead and drop that insert back in, and it is a nice snug fit. And then as I have to work with different material thicknesses, all I have to do is loosen this knob, and I can drop this way down for something thin or raise it up if I have something thick. And don't forget, when you're finished, reapply that blade tension. Okay, a couple quick notes on blades. So again, this scroll saw can accept both pinned and pinless blades, and the difference between those. So when I say pinned, I'm talking about a blade that actually has a pin running through it. Usually these blades are just a little bit thicker. This is maybe an 1/8 inch blade, probably a little bit less than that. But those pins actually sit inside some grooves here, so they're really easy and really quick to install and remove. So really convenient if you're doing larger cuts. A pinless blade is super tiny. Those are for your really delicate cuts. And the way you work with a pinless blade here, obviously, no pins, how do you install that into the machine? And TackLife has this really cool jig that they've supplied, which is down here. And there are these clamps that actually clamp onto the end of your small blade. So the blade feeds in through this hole here in the end, and then you have these set screws on either side that you would tighten up to make sure the blade is centered in here. Now you want to make sure that the teeth on your blade is always pointed down when you're using a scroll saw, and you really have to get in there. I don't know if this camera is going to pick it up, but you can tell the direction that the blades are going. You can also lightly run your finger over the blade and you'll feel some resistance. The way you use this jig is you would get your blade in here, get these loosened up, and then this goes in either side of the jig. You can see how it lines up. Then you would be able to tighten up your blade in here. And then once that's finished and everything's tight and centered, obviously you would not have this blade in, but these just fit in on the front side. So there's a little foot here that this bar right here would attach to. You can get more information in the manual and online on how to work with a pinless blade, but for now I'm going to operate the machine with the pinned blade. But it's really cool to see that this machine will accommodate both. And what do you do with all your extra blades? Well, this machine has storage here on the side. So you can put all your pieces and parts in here, and then that would store here on the side. So you've always got quick access to blades, and you don't have to worry about losing them. So that's a nice feature as well. I have this jig that allows me to set up the pinless blades. I want to keep it with this machine. So what I'm going to do is drop a couple of magnets here on the side. And then you've got this accessory kit that comes with the rotary attachment that I'll probably just slide under here for now. So loads of features on this guy. And I guess the last thing before we turn it on is installing the nozzle for the air pump. So let's do that really quick. All right, so I'm getting ready to turn it on and make my first few cuts, so we'll go through that together. What I did was I drew out 2 letters, the first letters of my children's name. So we have a C and an A, and I think these are going to be good test cuts because the C has a lot of curves in it, and then the A has an inside shape. And so what you have to do with a scroll saw is all of those inside shapes that you wouldn't be able to access normally with a bandsaw or something like that. Just drill a hole that's big enough for the blade and the pins, if you're using a pinned blade, to slip through. And what you'll see me do, I'll probably cut out the C first, we'll try those curves, and then we'll try the A, which is a little bit more complicated because it has that inside shape. What we'll do is we'll turn the machine off, and then we'll remove the top portion of the blade and feed it through this hole that I drilled, and then we'll be able to make that inside cut. And that's the beauty of a scroll saw. You can just take the end of the blade loose, feed it through your workpiece, and then you can cut all of those inside shapes. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Let's just get into it. All right, cool. So now we're going to go ahead and sand the edges using this rotary tool attachment. There's a hole here on the side. You need to be able to lock this chuck so that you can tighten down on your bit. So what I'm going to do is insert this pin. This looks like an Allen key, but it's not. It's round. So it actually goes in and locks into place so that you can tighten this and loosen it without the entire thing spinning. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to the chuck. Then I'm going to use the little wrench that came with the accessory kit to tighten down on that. Then I'm going to get the sanding drum slid over this rubber post and tighten down on that. And what that does is it compresses the rubber inside of that and will expand the rubber so that it holds onto this disc tightly. Now that's good and secure. I can remove this pin and we're ready to sand. Wow, that was pretty fun to use. This is actually my first personal scroll saw. I've used them in the past, but they're such a joy to use. They're so fun. I learned a lot about the feed speed, you know, how fast I should put the material through the blade. I learned a lot about, you know, the blade speed, how quickly that should be running with this particular material. I think if you're a beginner and you're looking for a scroll saw, this is an excellent option for you. It's super well made. Everything is really comfortable to use, conveniently located. The fact that it has all of the extra accessories like the rotary tool attachment, it has built-in storage, it has the LED work light, it has the air pump, all of the things that you would want in a scroll saw. This one has, and I think it's priced very well. I'm gonna have a link below in the description if you wanna check it out on Amazon for yourself. I wanna say thanks again to TackLife for sending this out for me to test and review. It really is a joy to use. My wife, Danielle, does a lot of hand lettering, so we're excited to see what we can do with this tool. If this is your first time to the channel, I wanna say thanks so much for stopping by. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And be sure to ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date on the latest content. Anyway, thanks so much for stopping by. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.